As a former college tennis player, I decided to learn to play golf in my late 20s. It quickly became one of my biggest passions, and the learning journey completely changed the way I approach my fitness and reshaped my identity as a lifelong athlete. 4 years ago, I was struggling to find motivation and consistency in my exercise habit and was starting to realize how much I miss my life as a youth and college tennis athlete. Today, I practice golf weekly, and I'm on a personal journey to play the sport at the competitive level. Golf also reignited my love for tennis and sports in general, and is one of the reasons why I'm a sports content creator today. Stick around to hear more about my life before golf, how I got introduced to the sport, what my training journey has been like, where I am today, and what's ahead. And of course, what I think of all of this and what this journey means to me. So let's start with some background. So why did I decide to talk about my personal journey with golf? I was thinking about my next video idea for my YouTube channel. So far I've made 4 videos about sports events that I've attended, and I'm also sitting with material to make plenty of more sports videos. At the same time, I've been asking myself questions about the identity of the channel and this account as well. Asking questions such as what do I want the channel to be about, and what things I want to include, and maybe what things I want to leave out. I feel happy with the sports events and travel videos, but I also feel like I want to expand beyond that format, mainly to continue to use this project as an outlet for my sports interests and to avoid burnout. After all, this is why I started this project, to share my journey as a content creator and my views on the aspects of sports I interact with. Instead of forcing a topic and having a narrow view, I wanted to open it up and be creative about what to do next. So I looked to get inspired by current events happening in sports that would interest me. About 2 weeks ago, it happened to be the Masters tournament week, so it got me thinking about possibly doing something related to golf. So the question was, what about golf? Wanting to do something interesting and meaningful to me, I decided to share my journey with you, reflect on what I've learned so far, and think about what I'm looking forward to next. So let's go back in time. Before 2022, or around about 4 years ago, I've never tried golf or really been interested in the sport. Besides a few times I watched Colombian golfer Camilo Villegas when he started winning tournaments, I think over 10 years ago, let alone seeing myself ever playing the sport. I grew up playing sports, mainly tennis and a lot of soccer, and also some basketball and volleyball in school. And I probably tried a dozen other sports at one point or another, including my own backyard versions of some American sports like football or baseball. Around high school, I got really into tennis and began playing the sport competitively. So for about 3 years, I played almost daily and competed on most weekends. That included a year after high school when I played tennis full-time in preparation for college. In 2013, I came to the US and played college tennis for 4 years. That was in Philadelphia. After graduating college, I moved to Maryland and gradually lost interest in tennis, and later struggled to maintain an exercise habit, with the exception of some gym here and there. During the pandemic, I started hiking and riding my bike seriously and quickly got back into relatively decent shape. This helped me regain my interest in structured training and the self-improvement journey in sport. During that time, I tried picking up tennis again, but I found myself missing the community and cultural aspects I was used to my entire life. So I continued to grow and develop my cycling training instead. In 2021, I started working for the company Under Armour, and I feel like that's when I rediscovered sports culture and found the sports community that I was missing. That's its own story for another time. Soon after, I found golf. In May of 2022, so again about 4 years ago, I got my first taste of golf. We went to Topgolf with some friends. which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. Is probably their first experience with golf as well. We ended up there in part because it was a trendy social activity at the time, and because by then I had familiarized myself with the sport working at Under Armour. As you can imagine, I was hooked instantly, and I liked the experience so much that less than a month later, I went back to Topgolf for some more. At that point, I still didn't know that much about the sport. I had no knowledge, no training. So after being on my mind for a few days and about a month later, one day I drove to the thrift store after work. I grabbed a putter for under $10, some used balls, and right after that I headed to the golf store and I bought a putting mat. So about 2 weeks later, and after practicing at home almost every day, as you can imagine, I went to play a round of mini golf to this place we found around 15 minutes away from home. When we got there, we found out that the location was primarily a driving range. So after playing our round of mini golf, I paid for a bucket of balls and borrowed a club from the shop. This was my first time at a real training facility, and obviously I still had no clue what I was doing, but something clicked that day, and for the first time I saw myself playing the sport long term. And the feeling was so good that the next day I went to the golf shop and bought myself my first set of beginner's golf clubs. And I'm sure you can tell where this is going. 2 weeks later, I was back at the driving range for what would be the start of my training journey and my dream to play competitively one day. Once I started going to the practice range, I almost immediately moved from just fun to seeing it as a serious learning and improvement journey, and became very intentional about my practice sessions. Because of this, I developed a patient and long-term way of thinking about my progress. It was clear to me that I was okay with not playing rounds on the course right away, and instead prioritize focusing on the fundamentals and the correct swing technique. At first, I practiced by feel and tried to figure things out on my own. Once I realized that that wasn't really gonna take me far, I started using YouTube videos to study the technical elements of the swing and plan my training to focus on 2 or 3 elements per session. This also meant that I had to learn to deal with the frustration of learning and making mistakes, a big mental part of the game. It's helped that I have considerable experience with structured training from my time at youth academies, college athletics, and even my more recent cycling training plans. I also began to realize how some of the technical elements fell to tennis and how much of it transferred almost automatically. For the past 4 years, I've been training weekly, except for the winter months and when life gets busy. But I've remained consistent for the most part. Not surprisingly, the most notable progress came from studying and practicing other sports and understanding biomechanics more broadly. In addition to playing tennis, I regularly practice the mechanics of baseball pitching and swinging, football throws, and even boxing, sometimes at the gym, sometimes in my living room. This focus on the technical aspects also opened the door for me to learn more about the science behind motor skill learning, for training planning and progress tracking, some sports medicine for injuries, recovery, and longevity, and sports psychology for training focus, confidence, and motivation, among others. As an example of this training approach, last August I played my first round with friends just for fun, and I didn't keep score because I didn't want it to affect my training focus. So far, I've been committed to not measuring my progress using metrics like handicap. Instead, my journey has been strictly process-oriented, focusing on the quality and the consistency of my technique and making sure I don't pick up bad habits that will be too hard to undo once I shift the focus to the game itself. After 4 years of consistent training, golf is a major part of my life today. Not just as a hobby and sport I practice, but it influences my lifestyle, it gives structure to my exercise habit, and it's a source of confidence and a great tool for mental health. I'm very satisfied with where I am in terms of skill and overall with my training journey. I try to train once a week during the warmer months and more often if I have the time. My training schedule is designed to mix in my other sports, mainly tennis and cycling. This helps me balance recovery and motivation and therefore prevent physical injuries and burnout. When it comes to practicing, I'm very intentional with the time I spend at the range. I only focus on one or two technical aspects at a time and try not to pay attention to things like shot distance or accuracy. Those will come later. One of my most helpful training tools is filming my swing in almost every practice session. I then analyze it at home to find areas of improvement and to plan the focus for my next training session. After some annoying injuries in the past few years, health and longevity have become top priority, so I'm very disciplined with my warm-ups, stretching after practice, and doing mobility work at home. Away from the range, I continue to study all aspects of the game, not just the training side. Some of those things I can apply to my training today, like connecting the dots between shots and game strategy, and the rest is building the foundation for when I shift the focus to play and eventually competition. I feel I have a good grasp of what I need to do in terms of swing mechanics, and I'm at the point where I just want to put in the hours, do another few thousand reps, and get to where the swing becomes mindless. Along with tennis and cycling, studying, training, and watching golf are some of my favorite ways of spending my time today. I'm grateful for how my golf journey has solidified my identity as a lifelong athlete. It's been great having something to work towards outside of my career, but that also touches so many areas of my life. Golf, and sports in general, has served as a bridge between the culture I grew up with, heavily influenced by my development as a tennis player, and the culture I live in today, here in Maryland. It has provided me with a sense of belonging to a community of athletes and fans that transcends cultures, languages, and geographies. Golf has proven to be an invaluable tool for my mental health, giving me purpose and confidence in my growth and development journey, both as a person and as an athlete, and as a healthy way to regulate stress and boredom. This sport constantly renews my confidence in my own evolution and my ability to challenge myself and achieve ever bigger goals, in sports and personally. On the other hand, it's provided excellent balance to my other sports in terms of diversification and cross-training benefits, allowing me to continue to train while muscle groups that I use in other sports recover. In a similar way, the skills transfer has worked both ways. I've applied many concepts and ideas from other sports to golf, and it's helped me see things from new perspectives in tennis and develop my understanding of sports training and learning and development at the personal level. And finally, it surprised me how quickly it's grown in my life, and today is up there with tennis and cycling as some of my biggest passions in life. And as a side note, I always saw golf as a luxury sport, but my current training has turned out to be cheaper than any gym or sports league subscription. At least from a training perspective. I know playing on the course is a different story. Looking ahead, I want to keep golf a major part of my life. I want to continue to challenge myself and develop my training and eventually my game on the course. And I'm more convinced than ever that I want to continue on this journey to play competitively one day. Right now, I want to get to the point where I feel I'm game ready, which means I can focus on the game itself instead of just the technique and the fundamentals. And in my opinion, I'm almost there. But I want to continue to work on my technique for a few more months. And once I'm happy with my level and my consistency, I want to start tracking my shots and documenting my club distances. At that point, I'll start to play more rounds, keep track of my scores and handicap, and consider upgrading my clubs to a real set. So what does success look like now? First and foremost, I want to continue to see my success, not in terms of improvement and results, but in my ability to stay disciplined and consistent with my training. I want to keep this as a practice that makes me happy and that gives back to me in all areas of life, even beyond sport. And last, I want to continue to explore golf culture and find more ways to build community around it and connect with people that share this passion. especially my partner Emily, who has been to this journey with me since day one. Training along her continues to make this experience extremely rewarding and motivating for the future. I hope you enjoyed this story and that it provided some value, whether it inspires you to rethink your relationship with sports and exercise, take on a sports journey of your own, or apply a new approach to your current training. For me, reflecting on my own golf journey allows me to explore sports in a unique way, as an athlete and content creator. Thinking about training and performance aspects adds another layer to how I understand sports, especially when experiencing them from the other side as a spectator. Thank you for watching, and follow along as I continue to explore the world of sports from a personal and cultural lens. See you next time.